Hi from somewhere. Do you like my tan?
Do you have a tan? You look
don't
like
have a
you have a
tan.
burn, actually. Are you
My
burnt?
face is a little red just from drinking my tea right now, but
Yeah, TK went
I
out there.
definitely am not a guy who's going to be getting a tan. And when he goes anywhere warm, let me tell you,
You're because of your fair skin or because you're so
I'm just
busy doing
afraid.
stuff?
No, I'm just afraid. I just don't like to be, I don't want to be burnt. So I just avoid it at all costs. I wear 60 SPF sunscreen.
Really? Are you that
Like
guy with
whatever. I get the
water
highest number I can
shoes?
get.
Water shoes and like a white face?
I just like it looks like I'm wearing white paint and I walk around like the beach like that, like
Do you wear water wings or like one of those life preservers around your
well, I
waist?
put that over top of my wetsuit, right? Just to make sure I'm 100% sure. But you know what? If the beaches of Punta Cana were any indicator on economic activity right now in our society,
Which
there's a
I
lot of
can't
money out
imagine
there. It's
why the
packed.
beaches of Punta Cana would indicate
People got
anything.
money. They're traveling. We're not even on a peak like, it's not the March break or anything like that.
It's a
You
little
can't even get a
scary.
seat at the beach right now.
You can't even. Who do
You
you
can get a
have to
seat, not the good
bribe
seat.
around
No,
here
you
to
just got
get
to
a
show up
seat?
early enough and put your towel
Put
down,
your towel down. One of
Put your towel
those,
down.
eh,
Yeah,
TK? One of
one of
those,
those.
huh?
I'm telling
What?
you.
Hey,
I
that's
learned I
the
learned
only
quick.
way.
It's the only way. It says
It,
not to do it, but what are you going to do? You're going to
it,
go there and you're going to sit in the sun or you're going to sit 17th row. I can't even see my kids playing in the ocean. What if something happens to them?
if there's a benefit at all to
Mm-hmm.
waking up so goddamn early every fucking day,
Yeah,
TK, it's
that's
that.
me.
You
It's
get seats at
getting
the
first front
beach
row seat at the beach
or the pool, I
or the
suppose,
pool.
depending
Both.
on
We did both every day, every day. So
both every day. So you
every
had a
day.
wonderful vacation and you're back and you're ready to rock and roll in this ridiculous,
Yeah.
insane, on
Had two
fire
had two
market.
deals while I was away.
Had two deals. What does this mean, TK? You
Had two
closed two
deals.
deals?
Firmed
Two
up
deals
on two
went
deals.
firm.
Yeah, one
Whoa.
buyer, one that was put together before I left, and then one seller that was done offer
Was
night
that
while I was there.
was that followed with an arrogant sigh, TK? Did you just lay an arrogant sigh on us at the end of, oh, I had to deal with two firm
I
offers
don't
while I
think
was
so.
away?
No, I don't think so.
I'll bet
That's
if I
we'll watch
replay
that in the
that, there's
recording
going
and
to
I'll
be an
find out. I
arrogant
will be honest
sigh.
with you if I was. But
Wow.
what I was trying to get at, and there might have been like a little bit of like boasting here. There might have been, but what I was trying to get at is that people are buying. Like there's deals gonna. I can't even go away for a week without people wanting to buy houses.
Right? You
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 know?
figure like if there's a time to go away, it's like they just raised rates again. Like
Yeah.
why not?
People are out there buying. They're
It's gonna be
shopping. There's 30
slow
30 showings in a week in a house in Scarborough.
in Scarborough.
One
Oh,
one offer came in, firm offer, got the deal done. That's how it happened. Lots of interest.
firm offer.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on, TK? This doesn't make any sense. This doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense at all. Does it make any sense, TK?
It
Can you
makes
make
sense.
sense
There's
of
nothing
this?
to buy out there, Daryl.
There's
There's nothing
nothing
to
to
buy. There's no
buy.
listings. People are looking for houses. The only people still buying today are people who have a genuine need for housing.
A
It's not like
genuine need for housing.
investors and speculators and all these people, they got burned. They're not
And I
going back
guess
in.
good income, right?
Well,
Good
of course. I
steady
mean, they're
job.
qualified buyers for sure. They're
And
all
what
going
about
to A
their
lenders. Are
what about
people going to B lenders right now?
no,
That would
they
be a
can't.
good question for one of our mortgage brokers coming up is
I've
are
seen it.
people who are B deals, are they just going like, whoa, I'm not going to touch that at 7, 8, 9% private, 12 plus
That's what
percent.
people are
I
saying.
don't even want to go near that. And so
Yeah.
they are deterred from buying.
They're
Whereas
tying them
before
up.
there was
They're
a lot
tying
of
them
B and
up.
private deals because they were like, what do you mean? It's only 3.25% on a B deal? Yeah, let's go.
But now you have time to investigate that and go, oh shit, maybe this is a bad idea. You know what? Thanks. I can't get my financing.
Yeah.
Have a nice day.
I did
Right?
one B deal recently. It wasn't my client, it was my listing. And I had to wait.
8%.
I don't know. I heard about someone at 6.25, but the gentleman on
Oh, that's
the
good.
call that we had were saying 8%, right? So
Eight, eight and a
I didn't
quarter.
confirm that information. I don't know how they got that rate. I don't know all the details of what they're getting or not. But one of my deals, the buyers had really good income, but she wasn't permanent employee or something like that. It was, I think she was like either a temp job or she had just started her contract, whatever it was. I didn't know. I wasn't privy to that, but they went with a B lender and then they're going to refinance in a year and they firmed up and I sold the listing. So
Right.
to me, I'm
When
happy,
rates
but that
are
was it.
lower in a
Other than that,
year
everyone's
from
talking
now.
A lenders right now to me.
Well, yeah, because the B lenders are scary. Unless you have to deal with a B lender, you may as well kind of pump the brakes or actually pull up that emergency brake, because it's like,
Yeah.
holy shit. So that was my next question: is the buyers, have they reduced their expectation levels of what they can get now? Because it doesn't seem like the sellers are willing to give up any ground,
The
not any
sellers are giving up
significant
grounds
ground.
up in the north.
Still, still.
It's definitely more difficult, but the sellers are definitely. I have
What's the
yeah,
north, like Thornhill
no,
or
like you go
like,
into like Simcoe County or
oh, like
any one of
really
those
north?
Barrie areas and stuff
Who
like
the
that.
fuck is buying stuff up there right
That's
now?
the point, right? That's the point, right?
What's the point? That no
Is
one is
that
buying
nobody's
stuff up
buying up
there?
there, right?
Right. So the prices
Yeah.
have to come down. And
So
are they
there's less
coming down?
buyers.
Okay. So in like areas that matter, pardon me if you live way
That's
up
so
there,
arrogant, Daryl.
but I didn't
That's such
sigh, TK. I didn't
that's an
hide it.
arrogant tone. Areas
No,
that
it was
matter.
right out
All
there.
areas matter.
It's right out there. No, all areas don't matter for this discussion right now, because if there's no volume, then who gives a shit, right? And if there was no volume before, like if we go analyze Bancroft again and the four sales that happened in 2020 and 2021, and
Yeah.
now everybody over there is panicking because the
But
two
those four
guys are
sales
having
were a
trouble
100%
selling, right?
increase. Okay.
Right. So like forget out way up north in Bancroft and North Bay, but like our I don't feel like prices are really dropping much. Like maybe year of over year against the peak, but like month over month, they're not really moving that much, are they?
Yeah. And condos moved the most in January than we'd seen in a long time. In recent memory, at least. I don't have all the exact numbers on when the last time condo markets had jumped down that much month over month or year over year, but the condo market really started to move down.
What
Um,
started to move down look like? Like 3% or something?
well, you know what? Like, let's not quote me on all the numbers right now because I didn't prepare for that. But bottom line is they were trending upwards year over year, and that they were relatively flat for the last 6 months, even with the interest rate increases. The biggest drop in condo prices was in the spring and summer, right? But the fall things were flat. I think they were even trending up 1 or 2 months. But now in January, it was like, oh, okay, condos are down too. Like it was very clear in the numbers
So,
that
but what
condos were
even
down too.
condos are selling? Like just resale condos we're talking about, because there isn't much
Resale,
new
yeah.
stock, right?
No, but I mean, new condos are must be selling for way less. The incentives. Oh, the newest incentive this week. I mentioned in the comments of last week's video. This is a place up in Muskoka. It's a Chinese developer, Ever Trust. They
Mm.
sold something in
Just
Niagara,
add an N to the beginning of the name.
and then they did a Muskoka project, and obviously they've got inventory because they are pushing it hard. And the newest incentive, there's been a long
Muskoka
list of incentives.
inventory. Oh no.
I know, is we will pay you $1,000 a month to buy this condo.
Well, they don't quite put it that way. It's like interest relief or something like that,
Exactly,
or like
interest
it's like we're
relief,
going to
but it's
help you out with your interest payments.
exactly.
Right. And so it's
So
basically a
hold on a
20.
second. So how much am I overpaying for this unit if you're willing to just give me
Hold on.
a
So you're
monthly
going to
payment?
give me
So I'm getting my
interest
money
for
back from you
24
after I
months,
bought it.
a car, a
My
vacation
appraisal
home
will
in
come in short. I'll have to
France.
refinance my principal residence. So what do I get again?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's like.
Basically nothing. A
And
piece of
all the
paper.
agents who are pushing this right now, we had a project, man, and we had a really good plan on how we would push this project, and they decided to not go ahead with us, which is fine because at the end of the day, like,
The hell do you guys know about selling condos?
no, it wasn't a condo project; it was a
Oh.
freehold, but
Mm.
just new inventory stuff is what I'm trying to say. And it is so
Do you
difficult
guys
to
do
push.
that?
We do,
Hmm.
yeah, but again, in the right market, in the right timing, and with the right structure around it. We're not going to just go out and push, like every agent right now is just pushing all these resales. I mean, a new construction because they just want to get paid again. And so they're like, yeah, yeah, this is so great. Oh, this is incentives. Oh. And they're just pushing it, pushing it, pushing it. And there's a reason why no one's buying it is because these aren't good deals, right? And there's lots of people burned. So that's not my MO. And people are definitely doing it and good for them. But be careful if you're a consumer.
Be careful buying new product now if you are a consumer, especially if it's
Absolutely.
in the low rise segment, because that stuff's going to be ready soon and you'll have to deal with it. Not like if you buy in a high rise and you can put on blinders for 5, 6, 7 years and pray and hope that things
Your
are
money
better
just sit
then,
there
right?
and say, we'll see what happens. Yeah. You might
So,
have a good point there, right? There might be some better outcomes for that.
so there's a lot of stuff to talk about other than just our baloney
I want to
anecdotal
I want to
stuff.
start with something important.
What do you
The
want to start with,
most
TK? I mean, you
the
are
most
in charge of the
the
show.
most sometimes
You are.
important market in all of Canada.
The one behind us?
The one behind us, the one that
The
we are
reason we're
filming,
here?
the one we're filming
This
live
is the
from
only
today.
safe place in Canada
And
right
if you
now.
don't recognize this beautiful city behind us, it's
Oh my God.
Calgary.
We had to come to Calgary where prices are up and everybody feels good.
And right behind me, particularly, I got good news for the downtown core of Calgary. The vacancy rate on offices is now
30%.
down to 25%. Only
How
one
is
in four office units are vacant, guys. All right. This is
you
good
know who's
news. Things are
moving
turning
there?
around.
You know who's moving out there and buying all these houses and keeping these prices afloat?
Stupid Ontario people.
Yeah, but the people that can work from home.
The people that
People
can work from home.
But like that, they're already, they know it's like they're not asking us to come back yet. Like they're
Yeah.
never asking us.
You know
And
what? They're
this
not,
place
those
is
people aren't stupid. Those are the
fucking
smart people in
expensive,
Ontario. No, those are
right?
the smart people in Ontario. The people who are investing from Ontario, expecting that this market in Calgary is going
Oh,
to
yeah.
be balanced and that they're going to make money over time. Those are the ones that need to get their heads checked.
Geopolitically, though, you
Mm.
would think that Calgary should have a pretty decent run in the coming decade or more, right? I mean,
You think.
you would think.
Look at
So,
how Calgary is, though. It's in
how
the
is
middle.
Calgary?
It's in the middle of like this area of Alberta where, there's all these little options. You can drive this way, you can drive that way. Let's build over here. Let's build over there. It's not like Toronto where you've got the lake. It's not like Vancouver where you got the
No.
ocean where we're crammed into one spot where there's all this demand for being
Well, and
in
there's
this
no
certain
pipeline,
area.
right? There's no pipeline that travels across the country. And dare I say, we recognize recently, maybe we do, maybe you
Mm-hmm.
haven't even heard about this, but it seems to me that
Tell me.
trains hauling, dangerous things like gasoline or other chemicals are not the best form of getting things across the country,
What
at
is the
least
best form,
recently.
Daryl?
What is the
A
best
pipeline.
form? I guess a pipeline technically, but we all know how people feel about pipelines. So I guess we're going to need a
Conservationalist.
new delivery system, TK, because I mean, all the old ones seem to cause lots and lots of problems. I mean, we could transfer over to renewable energies, but now everybody just says renewable energies are bullshit because you got to mine all kinds of stuff and use
Isn't
all
it
kinds of
crazy?
fuel to get that.
Isn't the cobalt mining stuff crazy? Did
You
you did
can't
you hear
win,
about that?
bro. Maybe.
So cobalt mining, which is in all the lithium ion batteries, and
Right.
they're trying to find ways to not do it. There are batteries that don't have it, all that kind of stuff. But the people who are mining it, I want to say I won't try to name the country just in case I say the wrong one and I offend anybody, but it's in Africa. And
Mm-hmm.
they're mining with the women have their children on their back as they're chipping away at rocks and all
Old
this kind of
school.
stuff.
That's old
Right?
school,
It's
TK.
old school, right?
Old
It's old
school
school.
mining.
This is some serious stuff, right? And this is
This is
harmful because one, it's a finite resource, or at least it's, you know, there's a finite amount
finite.
that can be mined at a time, right? Two, the exploitation of these people in order to be able to get it, and it's all being done like under the watchful eye of our major manufacturers, whether it be Tesla or Apple or Samsung or whoever's producing those lithium ion batteries for their products. They know what's going on.
So we need to basically like just not use any of this stuff, TK.
That's
No
the thing,
cars,
Daryl.
no
That's the,
building,
that's the thing is we don't like
mud
the answer.
huts.
We don't like the solution.
Nobody wants
We
the
don't want the
solution.
solution.
No, there's
They don't
some
want the
good
solution to the
solutions.
batteries. They don't want the solution to the market. They don't like interest rates going up, but they don't like prices going
And
up.
nobody
They
wants to fucking walk anywhere. I mean, look at what's going on. Okay, what a great segue. Look at the 15-minute cities, crazy pandemonium going on across the country right now, right? People
what?
are protesting about these blasphemous 15-minute cities. Like, they aren't already a thing. Uh, I don't even know what the big deal is, but like, what's going on with that, TK?
Tell me about it. I think I need to be educated on it. I'm not.
Again? What?
Look,
I guess
you're
you
in
were
Twitter.
away. No, I got locked out of Twitter this week. I'm
You
like
got locked out of
freaking out.
Twitter.
TK, I'm
We'll talk about
freaking
that
out.
later.
I have not been able to access
I
my
just read
Twitter
the
account for a
mainstream
week.
news, and I go over like the CBC stuff, and I like the global stuff, and I
Did you
like the
hear about
Financial Post, and I
the
like the.
train? Did you hear about the
I heard about the
train
train. Yeah, I heard about the
in
train.
Ohio? Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
thank God. Okay, what
yeah.
was I just talking about? What did I just
Protests.
segue?
Who's protesting now?
Protesting.
I'm not. I'm on the woke liberal media. I'm just not. I'm not like tuned into that.
Everybody's protesting. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
What protest did I just bring up now? I don't even
You brought
remember
up.
what the hell I
You
just
brought
said.
up the 15-minute city
15-minute
protest.
cities. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's people like going out in the streets and yelling at planners and freaking out because 15-minute cities, which, as far as I know, a 15-minute city just means like everything that you could possibly need is within a 15-minute walk of your house. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of 15-minute cities out there. I dare say Toronto is a 15-minute city, and it has been for a while. I
You can live
guess.
in a part of the city where you only need to go 15 minutes most of the
Oh,
time, but it
oh,
doesn't mean that's a 15-minute city.
whoa, you're blowing my mind here, TK. What's going on? What do you mean? What are you
What do you
talking
mean?
about?
If you live
It's
in an
exactly a
area,
50. If you live in the downtown core, that's a
yeah,
15-minute city, bro. You can go
the
shopping,
downtown
you can
core,
go to the
100%,
entertain, like you can do everything. Now,
100%.
if you live in North York, like on Yonge Street at
Yeah,
Shepherd, like how's
exactly.
that not a 15-minute city?
That's exactly what I just said.
Scarborough Town Center, Mississauga Town Center, whatever the hell they call that bloody disaster out there,
Yeah.
right? Probably parts of Newmarket. Like, there's lots of places where you can
15-minute
walk.
locations.
So
Anyways, Daryl, let's stop
what's the
semantics here.
problem?
Tell me
What's the
about the
problem?
protests. Okay.
Well, people are just going absolutely insane because what they think, TK,
Yeah.
what they think. And listen, it's hard not to think conspiratorially lately because we've got UFOs getting shot down. We've
Okay.
got like laser
Unconfirmed.
beams coming out of the sky. We've
Unconfirmed.
got unconfirmed my ass, bro. Where have you been?
What do
Even
you
the
mean?
government is confirming UFOs being shot down by the government.
Sure, but they're basically
Justin Trudeau himself said, Biden, shoot down this UFO that's flying over the Yukon that nobody actually saw. Okay, the point is, TK, is that
okay.
people are afraid of 15-minute cities because they're like, make it pretty damn easy for you to just lock us down, wouldn't it? Make it pretty hard for us to travel outside of your 15-minute
Oh my
cities,
God.
won't it? You evil
Oh
fucks.
my
And they're like
gosh.
yelling at the city planner, right? Like,
Yeah. How dare you make my life so convenient?
what are you doing? And there's people that are like watching the video going, are they in favor of 50? They're like, you're gonna be able to walk anywhere. You won't need a car, and you won't have to wait for anything.
You know what? I hate this, but I also hate climate change. So I'm not sure which way I feel about this.
Right?
So, anyways, Daryl, I agree. Okay, there's a lot of things out there that are going on that people are complaining about, and obviously that there needs to be some changes to be made, right? But the issue is nobody wants to go through the pain of what those changes are. Nobody wants the solution. Nobody wants to go through the whole entire roller coaster, whatever, of positive change, because it has to get worse before it gets better.
So, but we're all like,
that is the politicians. That is the politician's dilemma. Is every single one who comes in knows that there's this major decision that has to be made in order for them to get back on track, whether it be budget or planning or whatever. But in order to do it, they got to take all those, NIMBYs or they got to take all that, hate from the other side of the aisle or whatever it is that they have to go through in order to get there. And it risks their, political agenda. And so they end up not doing it because they're scared. They're cowards. And nothing gets done.
He says, like, what are you doing?
Well, I'm just saying, and the
Us,
politicians
TK,
who have
all
the
of
power.
us. They don't
We
have
as a
any
society
power.
is at the same way. I
We're a
completely
bunch of
agree. We're on the same
vaginas,
page.
all of us. We're a bunch of pussies. Nobody does anything. We just sit here on YouTube and talk, all of us.
Yeah.
Although, TK, I mean, we do discuss solutions from time to time,
Once in a while,
which
a
is a
solution
step
comes
in the
out of my
right
mouth, and I'm
direction,
like,
right?
damn, that sounded good.
So talking about the solutions, I said, okay, so we all recognize that there's all kinds of issues, right? I mean, now, okay, what did you hear about our mayor while you were away?
I heard about the mayor. Actually, I heard
Okay.
about that like on the beach.
So were there like fellow Canadians on the beach that you like met on the plane and you're like, did you hear
We
about
were
John
we
Tory?
were
What
we
the
were
hell?
we were gossiping.
You were gossiping
We
about
were
John
gossiping.
Tory on the
Yeah.
beach in Punta Cana. Well, that's
Yeah.
good. So were they prospective clients, TK?
Everybody's prospective client.
Everybody, they have my card. That's for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, so what is like people are a little nervous in the real estate market about John Tory no longer being the mayor because he was a big advocate of pumping out a lot of housing. So um like there's big problems. Our leader has jumped ship or been knocked off the plank, or we don't know what's going to
I
come of
don't know
that
what you want to
story,
call that. Yeah.
right? We got to touch on all this because there's a big picture here. Okay, we have a giant developer going bankrupt in Vancouver that nobody really seems to be talking about, a $700 million default.
Yeah.
Okay, we have Bed Bath and Beyond going out of business and closing all these giant locations that RioCan says they're positioned well to absorb, but like
But when you
that's
drive by a RioCan Plaza and you see these retail vacancies, you're going, "Whoa, wait a second, that looks a
right.
little strange,"
And
because
and
there's a
and
lot of them.
and one more that I just want to throw in the mix because
Yeah,
like we're seeing
that's what we
all
do.
this great growth and everything's on fire and all this goodness right now, right?
Hmm.
And you've got all these companies going out of business. You got all these tech layoffs. And now you got Shopify and Amazon talking about coming together in an alliance to, I guess, save Shopify. They were like mortal enemies last year. And they must see like a dramatic like shift that they would be willing all of a sudden to do something so extreme. So like
Hmm.
there's a lot in that, but like what the fuck, like what in this big macro craziness with wars and inflation going back up and rates going up and all this crazy stuff that should be pushing markets down. Even in the pandemic, like we had the biggest bubble of all time when we all thought it would crash. Like
Hmm.
what is causing this pandemonium, this FOMO, these like people at 4, 5, 6% to be rushing in, making firm offers in multiple offer scenarios again.
The need for housing, and look, I'm gonna say this right now, and it's completely contradictory to things that I have said in the past, and I'm okay. That to me, I learn from things that I say, and I grow as a human being, and I have no shame in saying this.
Shame,
Immigration will play more of a factor.
shame.
Immigration will play more of a factor in this scenario than ever before in the past.
This is the
Yeah.
new storyline. This
Yeah.
is what
There's
everybody is saying
there's
again
so much
now.
more attention on Toronto now as a city, as a global city. Who posted that the other day? I think it was Nick. He put it on his Instagram. He put an old 1992 newscast. No, 1988 newscast of like Toronto's this new city and all these jobs are coming in and people are trying to move to the city, but they can't afford a house and they're refusing jobs because they say it's just too expensive to live there and the average house is 330,000. Oh my god. Toronto was never such a huge metropolis before. It wasn't as attractive in the past when we went through this correction. In the
Sure.
early 90s, it was a big city, but it had just become a big city. It had just become what it is today, a major financial
Born.
hub and everything else.
Yeah.
That's when it was growing at that rate. And it's now been on steroids for 30 years, right? Growing and the jobs and the headquarters and the global attention and all that kind of stuff. So now
Immigration.
when we bring in that many people, the percentage of people who are moving to the GTA is way higher than ever before, right?
Out of the total, you're saying the
Percentage of people
mix
moving to the GTA
is higher than normal.
is higher than ever than when we were dealing with a market correction and immigration, because that's what everyone's saying, like, well, back in 1980, which is what I've been
People are
saying.
going back to the 1930s
I've
and
been saying
saying
it.
like
I'm exactly. So I've been saying
immigration
it because
stopped.
the data always shows that immigration is not a factor in a growing, in a falling housing market. It does. It shows that. But I think that this time will be a little bit different, and that there's going to start to be more of an of a issue in the major hubs, because everyone's going to be attracted to Vancouver and Toronto, top two cities, then Montreal, obviously. Then there's going to be a huge outflow of people that are native to those cities
Because they
and people
can't
who maybe
afford a
come for a
place,
couple of
right?
years, who will then be going to these other cities like Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Saskatoon, and these other great cities in Toronto, in Canada, that can't name right now off the top of my head. I'm
Because they don't really exist yet.
Moncton, St. John, all these areas. You'll get a little bit growth in those cities, which will maintain those housing markets more than what they have in the past. It's a factor. There's going to be a lot of pain. There's carnage. The people who did buy in the last couple of years who didn't plan accordingly are going to have a really hard time for a while, because their income's not going to be going up. And that if they don't have a source, like a windfall of money coming in, they're going to be tough, which is like that couple in London who bought, right? They're bought for 730,000, as in CBC News article this week. And their mortgage payment went up like $2,000. Engineers from Brazil moved to Canada. Canadian dream, can't start a family because they're working at
We're getting the
Uber
fuck out of here
and
now.
dine, those type of things, like door delivery stuff, right? For food. So they're working those extra jobs while one's trying to become an engineer, another one's quoting jobs for construction, and they have engineer background. So you can tell that they're probably already upset about that. This is the story line. That's just the one that made the news.
So, but
And
is
then
this
they're
going to
all over the
stop
place.
like 800,000 people from
No,
coming?
no, that all
Oh,
that does is it's a
slow us
drop in the
down to
bucket. It's a
400,000?
drop. It's a not immigration. What I'm talking about is the amount of inventory that comes to the market because of that. So yeah, there's a
Oh,
bunch of fallouts. There's a bunch of people. There's a bunch of people who will be totally screwed. But the amount of demand that'll be created because of the lack of housing. How many houses are going to be built, Darryl, over the next 5 years? Any more than we did in
even
the
if they
last
pick
five
up,
years?
I don't think so. But even let's say we pick up the pace to an average of like
10% more.
40,000. I guess are we talking Canada? I don't know Canada
Desjardins did a
stats.
study that says we need 50% more
50% more than the target,
than
bro,
than
not
they
than what we
already
build,
approved. No,
than the
no, no. That
target.
the already approved. We
Yeah,
need
but
50% more than what we know we can get done.
the target was already like 80% higher than we've ever done. And it was like so impossible to hit. It's ridiculous. And
So
now
the provincial target, Ontario's provincial target,
all of
is
the targets.
incredibly
Okay,
overstated.
maybe they could
Yeah,
technically do the target in Saskatoon, but
yeah.
like where's the labor coming from? And if it's so crazy in Toronto that people are like flocking out to Saskatoon, like
Mm-hmm.
where's the materials coming from? Because I'm pretty sure people will end up getting materials in Toronto before Saskatoon or Moncton, right?
Yellowknife.
Or
Anyways,
or
I'm not
Yellowknife.
saying I know. I'm not
None
saying I
of
know.
it.
All I'm saying is I've changed my opinion on the immigration factor, right? Is that it becomes it to me it was a non-factor. I thought, yeah, you could bring
Non
400,000 people in
factor.
here and this is not going to change a thing. But now it's becoming more and more clear that there is going to be a significantly large amount of people new to this country, not already here getting permanent residence, but physical bodies coming from other countries and living here. I hired some guys the other day. I hired some guys from remember I mentioned it. Where are they from?
Mumbai.
Slovenia,
Okay. Slovenia.
Slovakia, Slovakia.
Slovakia.
So they
Souvlaki.
so basically, they came here a few years ago. They're working labor jobs, hardworking guys. They're trying to get things done. They got wives. They're young. They're like in their 20s. They got wives. They're ready to go. My wife's will clean the houses for you. All this kind of stuff. They're offering their services, right? There's a lot of people. So when you say labor shortage, I'm telling you that the labor's coming. When you bring in that many people, you're bringing in people who will resort to anything to be able to afford the
Sure.
lifestyle that they need to, which includes going to
It's a
get a
little
job in the
scary though,
trades.
because it's like, You hear stories about general contractors waiting at the airport or at the docks or at the train station and like hiring people
Yeah.
like right off the the
Well,
the, the transit,
look at the
right?
big guys, right? So look at Ellis Dawn, or
I
any
knew a
one of the.
guy. I knew a guy who hired guys that just got out of jail.
I think that's a great resource.
Well, it was pretty interesting watching them do the interlocking in front of people's houses and getting in fights and yelling at each
I
other,
think guys should get a second chance, and
selling
immigrants should have
drugs.
an opportunity to make good money too, because trades pay
Sure.
really well. What do you think a guy who's starting in the trades makes?
But how tight is the labor pool that you got to first of all, who like let's just take this a step back.
Yeah.
Imagine the guy building your house that you're on the second floor right now in a really heavy bathtub enjoying your soak, but the guy who built that place was literally just kind of pointed at as he walked off the train and was like,
That's not how it works. That's
TK,
not how it works.
it's basically how it works.
Okay, but there's a building
You
permit
ever you
issued.
ever work with rebar? No,
There,
it's okay. We'll show you. Come with me.
there's engineering that's done. There's definitely standards that need to be met. And I think that,
Engineers
and
can engineer, architects can architect, right?
what do
Like
you mean?
people,
This couple who has just bought this house are both engineers from Brazil. They can't get a job as engineers because
right? They
they need
can't
to be
engineer,
certified.
right? So you
Yeah.
bring in the people that could actually do something in the real estate market to help get stuff on the market into supply. And what do? Yeah, we're gonna bring in these engineers, but they're gonna drive Uber for 3 years while not only having another full-time job at the restaurant, but going to school to get their certification to be an engineer, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a
Yes.
wonderful system.
Yes.
Wow.
Eventually, you bring in enough engineers, eventually some of them will stick it
Some
out
of
and
them
get
start being
certified, right?
engineers, right? Yeah.
Anyways, what are we
Well,
talking about right now? We're talking about a labor shortage.
we're talking
I
about
think that the labor
the
shortage will be
tightest
solved
labor
through
market
the
ever.
labor shortage will be solved through um, immigration.
Who's hiring everybody though? Like you get all these tech companies are firing people like crazy. You got rates going up. Everybody's
Okay.
expecting like Armageddon in the job market.
But
And
if we increase housing supply and new construction starts,
who's making
okay.
new supply though?
And you're telling me that the developers, the big contractors, the guys who are building houses and all that kind of stuff, if they had access to a labor pool and that they had bought the land back in 2003
Yeah.
for 300,000, and now
Yeah.
they can build 800 homes on it,
Yeah.
they're
And
not going to find the
nobody's
labor.
buying. No,
They're
they'll
not
be
going to find
like,
the. They'll price it at
they'll
a point that
launch.
people will buy. And if these people are
Will
all,
they?
they'll sell it to the guys working for them
Is
and say,
that what
"Hey,
you're seeing?
I'm
Is that what
telling
we're
you,
seeing now? We're seeing a couple of
I'm
guys like
telling you that
Madame is launching a
the
few
things
things
that happened in the past, because we had labor shortages and all that kind of stuff, which seemed like, oh my God, this problem will never be solved, will be solved through immigration.
through immigration.
Through
So
immigration, the demand shortage from the increase in interest rates and everything else will be solved through immigration. I'm not saying 100%.
everything will be
No,
solved through immigration.
no, but there's going to be a section of each one of these issues that we have that'll be solved through immigration. And I didn't
Hmm.
believe that before. I thought really
Why?
it
What
would be like a,
changed? What changed?
just by reading more and more about it. They keep on putting out more and more information about it, exactly how much numbers. I told you about the Benjamin Tall announcement that he was talking about. Is we didn't even really experience any increased population over the last 2 years. It's mostly been people who were already here, right? And that the percentage of those new Canadians were mostly just permanent residences from people who already lived in a dwelling somewhere. But
Hmm.
now the increase in the amount of people who is going to actually be coming in now will be a real net gain of
A
400,
flood of
500,000 human
people.
beings, plus all the other people who come here as, in other programs and stuff like that. And in theory, he said it could be as much as 1 million people landing in Canada in 1 year. But even if we use just half that number, 500,000 bodies need to live somewhere, Darryl. Where are they going to live? You think that we have a bunch of vacant properties? You think we have a bunch of vacant properties sitting there right now
Right.
that people are just going to move into?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like even if there were the amount of empty properties that they say there are,
Mm-hmm.
like those will fill up in a year.
Those are filled, done
Those are gonna fill up.
this month, done.
Gone.
So again, Not saying that this is the be all end all of solutions. Your side of the equation, the development and planning needs to be solved. And I don't understand how Bill 23, I just got a report from our buddy Greg yesterday. And so he kind of summarized a lot of the stuff that needs to happen for that site in Pickering that I was telling you about. And yeah, it's a lot of stuff still needs to happen to be able to make these things go through, even though things can be lifted from the greenbelt. You still have to go through all that planning, or the region and the city still has to go through all the planning. It's not just, okay, it's lifted, go ahead. Well, now it's like, well, in the official plan that we amended 20 years ago, this is what the land use was. So now we need to look at, what do we want to do with that land, right? And you know how fast the city moves.
I know how fast the city moves.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
I too spoke with our friend Greg yesterday.
Great.
Unfortunately, I spoke to him the previous day as well.
Unfortunately.
Well, the previous day, he told me something that did not excite me at all. It actually made me quite angry and depressed. But I know better.
Yeah.
From my experience, TK, not to listen to people's initial reaction.
Yeah.
To let things kind of sit for a bit and let them do a little bit of digging before they formulate an opinion that I will actually take into consideration.
Yeah.
So Mr. Greg spoke to his friends at the planning department about something that he scared the shit out of me the day before on. But the news yesterday, TK, was quite bright. TK, if I was able to put shades on myself right now, I would be a gangsta in paradise, baby. Nice. Serious OG. I think I did it, TK. I got some great feedback, initial feedback that makes me super pumped.
Yeah.
And super scared because, like you're saying, like the legislation that we're all waiting for is not out from what they've teased for the last 6 months. Yeah. So I feel like from talking to people in the industry that a lot of people kind of sensed the wind shifting, got our insights from probably the same few people, and everybody headed in a direction, right? Except for me, TK. I headed in a similar direction, but not quite the same. And I took a little bit of a risk, TK. But it looks like it's going to pan out.
I think so.
It looks
like
if
anybody can make it pan out, it's you. That's my thoughts on it.
I greatly appreciate that, TK. Now, but what's interesting, I wasn't really planning on talking about this, but TK, terms. We've talked about it before.
Yep.
And I think, well, I guess in the residential market, terms don't fucking matter anymore because everything's just gone bananas. Not a lot of
flexibility in those terms.
But maybe you'll remember, maybe you won't. Maybe somebody out there listening or watching will remember, but somebody was talking about this crazy amount of immigration for a while. And somebody decided that he was, even though he was scared shitless, was going to keep buying land and working on assemblies against maybe my own better judgment. But TK, the immigration story was in my head, and I knew it when everybody was saying they already live here. They already live here. I was like, no, they don't all already live here
yet.
And there will be more. And I don't believe the numbers. But what I do see is when I go to get my passport, they cannot handle the sheer amount of demand for government services. When I go to get my daughter her driver's license, you notice that they don't even have time to hire someone to fix a light bulb in the men's washer, let alone the toilet, right?
Shame.
But we just keep bringing people in because, as you mentioned, and as many people know, it is going to be the floor to the housing market. Now, what's interesting, I think, TK, so I started talking about terms because I still think like we're in this weird little blip. Like this can't be the end, okay? This can't be the end of this disaster. And we just raised 425 bips in 9 months and like nothing is going to happen, okay? except for like 14% off this crazy inflated top. So I'm guessing that this is some kind of a weird like bull trap where everybody was like, okay, they paused rates. Let's go back in. We've got some certainty in the market, and people have been fed a bunch of horse shit from some realtors probably that like once they pause, like, and once the market stabilizes, it's time to go back in. And there's probably some investors that probably think the same thing, right? Stabilize. But TK, if we haven't seen the pain, do you think that there's any pain coming? Because I don't like. I went out for dinner last night. Like nobody's hurting.
There's pain coming for
my waiter goes to better restaurants than me. This guy last night had a better life than me. Okay, he was making me envious of the life that he leads. The waiter at the restaurant, which maybe he was telling the truth. I don't know, but I mean, he didn't seem to be hurting at all. And he just came off the craziest time ever for waiters in the history of mankind.
The thing that everyone's talking about is because of higher interest rates, people are then going to use more of their disposable income towards their debt servicing, right? So it means that now they have less disposable income. And so that means that they're not going to be going out shopping. They're not going to be going to the movies. They're not going to be going out for dinner and all that kind of stuff, which means those businesses are not going to have customers. Right? So those businesses don't have the revenue to be able to support the staff, which means that eventually those people need to be laid off.
This is the theory.
Which would change. Exactly. This is the theory, right?
Which
would change the job market. But again,
why didn't that happen?
A small little part of the solution is going to be immigration, because immigrants are going to go to the movies. Immigrants are going to want to go to, dinner. All these things are going to happen, right? So that more people living in a certain area will help flood those businesses with revenue, which will allow them to keep their jobs, right? So yes, those people who are no longer going to the movies, they're hurting, but it doesn't mean that that's going to be the domino effect that's going to wreck the economy and push us into this recession that everybody's talking about.
Are we going to see like a K-shaped recession?
I don't know what letter we're going to be talking about in 6 months, but what I can tell you is that immigration will play a larger part to all this than what we anticipated. We still could have a major downturn where prices go to the bottom. It could be crazy, but like you said, perfect way to look at it is immigration will be the floor. Immigration will allow us to create a floor that'll be much higher than it would have been if immigration wasn't at the record numbers that they are proposing over the next 10 years. I mean, 5 years at least.
Okay. So prices are fairly steady at the moment. I've seen some things showing like prices are back, flat, baby.
Yeah, but prices are very flat, but still trending downwards month over month. So
still trending downwards, but like slowly, right? Yeah. Well, but I mean, listen, just talking about a floor, the floor means that like they don't go down anymore, that they stay flat or start going up, right?
Yeah.
Are we on the same page? Yeah.
Same page.
So, okay. So are we at the floor? Has it been the bottom? I don't know. But like, let's think this through. The people coming in, most of them, they're not buying something, are they, TK?
It doesn't matter if they're buying or not. It means nothing. They need a place
somebody
to live.
They need to live somewhere. So somebody needs to buy something.
Eventually, an investor, a REIT, somebody eventually has to create. We talked about this in the very beginning of our show.
We did?
Yes.
Okay.
What is Canada's main contributor to our economy?
Immigrants.
What was Money, the word? What was the word? What was the expression we used?
I don't know. I don't remember any of this. I don't even remember my previous question.
Warehousing people.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
And that's a good segue because I wrote a Frankfurt report, Substack on that was very well received about the inventorying or the warehousing of humans.
Warehousing of humans.
And I mean, that's literally what we're doing.
That's what we're going to do.
We are doing it, and we're going to have to do it even more. The government is in control.
The government decides on where rates go. The government decides on how many houses will be allowed to be built. The government decides on how many immigrants are going to be let in. So really, anybody who says, I know with certainty what's going to happen, including myself, can't possibly say that that's what's going to happen unless they know exactly what the government's going to do. Because if the government decides to bring in more people, pause rates, allow for, flexibility and maybe some of the lending guideline, whatever it is, that is going to create more demand, and it's going to create stimulation on the real estate market, and that people are going to be going out and buying again, and that we're going to see a floor, even price increases down the road.
Okay,
right?
so the sheer amount of people that need a place to live, right? Somebody has to either open up a place for them that exists currently that is vacant, take something existing and turn it into more spaces, or add new inventory, right?
Yep.
But the people that are moving here, for the most part, can't afford to buy the new stuff that the market needs so desperately. So what do we need, TK?
I'm not saying so.
No, but hold on.
I'm in the okay. Go ahead.
We need speculators, TK.
Absolutely.
We need investors or
100%.
speculators. Okay.
100%.
And so I'm going to plug myself again, but check out my new Substack that talks about.
Check out a Substack
that talks about exactly this, is that people want to villainize the speculators and want to call them dumb idiots, greedy, at the top of the market,
selfish.
Right? But guess who is integral in building our rental inventory in Toronto or Canada for that matter, right? If they don't put the deposit down for that unit before the developer gets the construction financing, the building doesn't get built. That's just the way the system works, right? So everybody can freak out that everything is 1/5 or 1/3 of everything is owned by an investor, but like we did it on purpose. Like, this was the plan. They wanted people to own, but they didn't want people's salaries to go up. So who's going to own if everybody needs a place to live, right? The investor.
Let me give you the counterpoint quickly to that while it's fresh in my head. Okay. Let's say that the speculators are burned. They're saying, I don't want to do that anymore, Darryl. That was me for the last.
A new crop.
The government,
will be
just like in the 60s and 70s, could end up providing that financing for the developers, and we could see a purpose-built rental boom. Go ahead, finish your point, Darryl. I'm saying if the government starts guaranteeing financing for people, what lenders are not going to get involved in that? What banks are not going to start putting the money up for these purpose-built rentals to be built?
What, like the equity that's necessary to build them, or the debt?
The debt.
Okay, so but you still have to turn the investor or developer's mind into,
when there's a government-backed program that says you're guaranteed to get the money, and we're guaranteed
35%
to put the bodies
equity instead of 12 or 15, right? And you have to build something and keep it.
I'm not saying that would be the terms. That's currently the terms when you're going to a bank, but right now CMHC is up to 95% loan to value.
They are. But you have to have a lot of equity to build a purpose-built rental to get those rates.
The people,
right?
the big players have that type of equity.
You know,
there's
another
just no
way
incentive for them to
get great rates right now, TK? Do you know how? For
getting
these developers, getting it from the fucking owners, man.
Yeah.
The terms that are available right now, not from everyone, but TK, like, if people want to sell their place and they want that price, man, they are willing to give up some insane terms. Can I tell you that my blended rate from these sellers on this new assembly is cheaper by I want to say 3 to 4% on the interest rate than the loan on my last deal that started in the middle of the pandemic. Okay. Like, that's insane, man. That's insane. I can't even get these rates from a bank. If I was the strongest, if I have the strongest balance sheet in Toronto, I could not get these rates from the bank. And that's crazy, because not only does it allow me to pay them what they want for the property, it actually makes my performa better.
Mm-hmm.
Because instead of a rate at like 10, 12%,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty
That
typical
you
for
may
this
not
kind of
even be
deal
able to
right now,
get, like not even, not even, not even.
won't be able to get, like,
Yeah.
no chance. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have the financing in place for like 75% of the debt on this deal already at a
Yeah.
rate lower than I could have got from a bank.
Yeah.
And that makes a difference, TK.
Absolutely.
Now throw into that people are willing to give me ridiculously long closings. And now I don't have to pay land transfer tax. I don't have to pay fees on borrowing this money. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a little cascading effect that makes Darryl very, very happy, TK.
Mm-hmm.
Very,
I'm
very
happy for you.
happy.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I still have to
It's a
come
good
up
start.
with millions of dollars,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
So let's take a moment here. One, if you're listening to this show,
oh my God, if you're
we have a
listening.
new channel.
Yes, TK. It's better than this one.
It's
It's
could be better
shorter.
than this one.
If you have
If you're not
ADD,
interested in now, if you're listening to us still coming to the end of the show, you may like this channel better. But if you
you
always
will like
wondered
this channel
if I could
better.
just get the Cole's notes on what the hell these two guys are talking about, which is not very
Horrible
much and
placement for
very,
this.
yeah, we should do this in the beginning. So, but if you are listening and this is how you're thinking because you forgot to turn us off 40 minutes ago,
Yeah.
Canadian real estate shorts.
Yeah. Canadian real estate show shorts.
Canadian
In
real estate
case,
show shorts
yeah, we had
is now
a
available. So check that channel out.
great
What else was
channel.
I going to say? Oh yeah, if you're
Maybe
interested in
subscribe.
investing and you got millions of dollars and they're just sitting around right now and you want to
Yeah.
get in on Darryl's deal,
Grand Slam. Another Grand Slam. TK, Hall of
send us an
Fame right
email
here.
because that's a
Hall
way
of
better
Fame.
deal than subscribing to this channel.
Yeah,
So
and it's way better than a GIC. That I can tell you.
100%, 100%.
Holy cow. Yeah, more than 100% better.
Yeah. So, oh,
Oh,
I'm not
that's a
very good at
nice
winking.
return.
Yeah. But
I need one of those sighs right about now. Ah, it was so hard putting
just
this wonderful deal
just millions of
together.
dollars putting
Ah,
together
I'm
to
so
be able to
good at
make
what
lots of
I
money and
do.
make my investor partners rich.
I called
Whatever. It's
myself
a
TK.
win-win for everybody involved, including the community. But
I call
you
myself
know,
the Assembly King.
I
TK.
just put together these deals
That's
on
all I do.
Wednesdays.
Nothing
That's all.
major.
No big deal.
Well, everybody else is running for the hills. So
Yep.
who's the dumb one, TK? Who's the dumb one?
The person who passed up on that deal, Darryl.
Ooh.
Oh, I won't name names. Let me look at my schedule of articles here to make sure that I got all the ones I wanted to talk about
Did
here.
you talk about everything? We talked
Well, there
about
was
a
a
lot of
guy
stuff,
who there's a developer who's got his license revoked. History of non-compliance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's just talk about him
TK.
quick.
Yes. This
Scarborough guy.
What a fucking asshole this guy is. Oh, that's a racism now. It's a racism. They're only coming after me because of the color of my skin. Everybody's doing it. Yeah, I did it. What? Fuck
15
you.
times. So what?
Yeah,
there's a reason why you are only supposed to build a certain amount of houses depending on the size of builder that you are. There's a reason why there's Terry on in effect.
To register it. That's
right.
Forget about the
There's a reason for all these things. Now, that being said, when the market goes up, this is the byproduct, not just like you mentioned, not just housing built faster, but like less quality and more
just
illegal
because it doesn't
builds,
have Terry
stuff
on
like
doesn't
that.
mean it's built worse.
I'm
Let's
not saying
be
that at
clear
all.
about
I'm
that.
just telling you that I said illegal housing. That's one of the other parts, right? So there's a lot of these things that end up coming from this. And again, it should be expected. It should be expected. And I don't think that there's going to be more of these that are going to come up than normal and that kind of stuff.
No,
But
but
there'll
the
be a few
reaction.
that should be expected. And hopefully the people who are building houses are the ones with experience. Honestly, I don't even work with guys.
It happens all the time though. Like people get their Terry on revoked all the time, but they don't go call the Toronto Star and say it's because of racism.
Yeah.
So you don't hear about it.
Yeah.
I know somebody that got caught building illegal houses before.
Me too.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
when
crazy.
the market's going up, it's how things go. So again, should be expected. And
If you're
it's not an
building an
alarming,
illegal house,
it's
don't
not an
fucking tell
alarming
anybody,
thing.
especially the realtor you use, who may not end up selling your house and may end up in a
Yeah.
fight with you
And
at the end of the process.
if you're a realtor and one of your clients is doing this, be very careful. Be very careful because it's always going to fall back on us so if you're helping them buy the
Ooh.
property and then they're building and then they're selling it and you're like, oh, this is so great. I got this builder. I'm such a successful realtor. Look at me. And then when you go to,
And I
collect
get
your
to back
commission and
end
everything
it
like
too.
that, you're
I get
like,
to back end
I'm
this
feeling so
baby.
good about myself. When things don't go well for you, okay? And there's a dispute,
Hmm.
okay? Nobody's going to say he was just making a living for his family. Nobody's going to say he didn't know. No one's going to say it's the builder's fault. They're going to look at the realtor and they're going to say, you sold me this house. You were representing myself as a buyer or the seller as a seller, whoever it was.
You should have told me
And
to
you
look
should
out
have
for
been the one to tell
this.
me what was going on and why I shouldn't have had this, because this is life changing. When people end up getting screwed from buying a new home, it can be really life changing, and you're going to put yourself in the hot seat. And so it's best just to avoid it. To be honest with you, there is no amount of commission. There's lots of good builders out there. The guys I work with are Terrion registered. They all do the same things. Once in a while, I've had to sell some houses that were not Terrion. We do holdbacks and all sorts of stuff, and I make sure that those type of things happen so that when if things do go wrong, the buyer is protected and that there's some sort of warranty. Because if the builder goes bankrupt and there's no money left, like they're coming after you, Mr. Realtor. And I don't care if you have errors and emissions insurance. You don't want that. You don't want those problems.
Well, it's unfortunate because Terrion sucks and they're useless. Okay. They're not good for the consumer by any means. Okay. I mean, they're horrible for the builder, but the consumer is not protected by a long shot. They may make you feel like you're a little bit protected, but the hoops they make people jump through to get things dealt with, or like things that aren't covered, are kind of a travesty, to be quite honest with you. But I mean, that's one of the main reasons I stopped being a builder, is because, like, by the time you adhere to all these regulations and by the time you actually do all the stuff that the city wants you to do, forget about even Terrion. And by the time you leave 50 grand in the kitty for a couple of years for everything that you're building, like, these dollars start adding up like crazy. So, like,
Mm.
right, like when you're paying your workers comp and when you're WSIB and you have to have like your license, and every single site has to have like this board of all these things, and you got to have a certain book that, like, there's so many ways that make it so that either the cost of the housing has to go up through these builders or the quality level has to go down so that they can maintain a margin, right? Like, there's no win for the consumer with all of these things that go on. So at least, well, the point of my rant, TK, is that at least if you're going to have a fucking governing body, they should be useful and they should protect the consumer. They should make sure that the houses are being built properly. And when they're not, they should actually do something instead of just like doing a PDI walkthrough and taking like, I don't know, 3 years to get the developer or builder to complete like the most mundane little paint issues, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a gross misuse of all kinds of time and funds. And it's really unfortunate. But it's going to be even more necessary going into the environment where we have no labor, ridiculous demand, no supply, and everybody. If you go to my Substack again, you'll see this will be the biggest general contracting boom in history, because everybody and their mother will need to make money, and there will be opportunities at every dinner table, at every party, everywhere
I
for
got a
people. I know
guy.
a guy.
I
You
got
know
a
a
guy
guy?
here. I'll send over. My mom told me a story one time. So my uncle was pretty like high up in Mattamy Homes, not like a executive kind of guy, but he was probably like a site super or something like that. He was a
Ooh,
carpenter, and he would have been
make a lot
managing
of money doing that.
sites and stuff like that, right? And yeah, wealthy guy, and definitely successful in all the areas of his life. But she got mad at him because, like, 25 years ago, my dad said, I need to have, this is in the 90s, I need to have some work done. I think it was landscaping. I can't remember. And so my uncle said, yeah, I got a guy, no problem. I'll send them over. And so when it was all said and done, my mom's like, okay, we'll go pay the guys. And my dad's like, no, we got to pay my brother and then he'll pay the guys. And my mom was always like, oh, that was, she didn't like that, right? Because it's
Yeah.
his brother, right? Like he
Yeah.
should be not like taking money off the top. But that's exactly what it was. He had his
Sure.
connections. He got a great deal because he was managing the sites. They probably did it for free. Who knows? And he took his little piece because that's what it was worth, right?
But this is the time when guys are like, let's say guys that, just framers. And it's like they're at a party and I can do that. I know some guys, like he's got a crew of 4 guys that are willing to do fucking anything or say they're able to do anything. And next thing you know, there's a new general contracting company. And I'm telling you, it's happening every day that there's just some guys who were a trade for somebody else or a sub trade for somebody else that just decided, you know what, like I'm smarter than the guy I work for. I could do this. People keep asking me.
Phone and
That
sick
guy's
on
making a
Thursdays.
fortune, right? And
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah.
Like guaranteed. TK, I put out a tweet of the first house I ever built. Okay. If I was in the construction business, man, people would be asking me when I could start, like instantly. It spread like crazy. Like, I don't know, 30,000 people looked at this thing because I just put up a picture of a house that I said I built, right? It was probably because I put up the numbers attached to that deal, like that I bought it for X and I sold it for Y, and I actually put up those things. Pretty interesting. Back in 2000,
like, I want in on that deal.
I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to do that. And everybody really wants to be able to do that, but they think it's hard, right? Or they think you need tons of money. Like they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know how to do it. So they think it's scary, like anything else, right? But if people thought that they could do it, and there's lots of people that think they can do it, that doesn't mean they can do it. But watch what happens. And those people, they're going to be robbing a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of unfinished projects that like the real guys are going to have to come in and charge triple to fix. It's gonna get messy. And those people become not labor for the real professionals that need labor and need guys in a cycle to learn stuff, right? It's a fucking mess and it's not getting any better.
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying to end the show. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. I'm not saying that it's simple. I'm not saying that I know what the hell I'm talking about. But the situation that we have in the city is more about the amount of units for people to live in than it is on the capabilities of people to be able to live in those units.
275 square feet studio,
whatever it is, whatever that's going to take over the next decade, we're going to have an issue with where people are going to live.
Looking for roommates.
Oh
275 square
I
foot
can't
bachelor.
afford it, or people all this past couple of years worth of issues, they'll sort themselves out for a while. Young people will start to adapt on what they can afford.
Laneway suites,
secondary suites, whatever, all those type of things will start to become more normal, that people will say, look, if you want to live here, this is what you got to do. I need to rent out my apartment. I need to build all that stuff.
All your showings now are like, once you add the garden suite in the back, then this thing is a deal.
That'll become more normal. There'll be more knowledge and education on it. All those type of things.
600,000 and get your tenant for $2,000 a month, which doesn't make any sense at all, and refinance your house at 6%, then this deal really sinks.
So anyways, I just my thoughts of the day today. And by next week, I could change my mind.
I think you should change your mind by next week based on what I've heard today, TK.
Just to make that very clear is that I'm not going to die on my shield for any real estate future predictions, because I understand how little anybody, or how rare anybody has ever. You see that Michael Burry guy, the guy who predicted the 2009 Great Recession from The Big Short?
Yeah, I've heard of him a few times.
You ever kind of see what people post about him and all this kind of stuff? He just did a tweet recently and then deleted it, says sell, and then he like,
you don't know how short I am. He puts up all these like stupid
isn't that
tweets.
The stupidest thing ever? Like, but this is supposed to be the guy who called, like, he didn't call it. He just kept on saying dumb stuff all the time. And eventually he was right. And everyone was like, oh wow, I can't believe it. And now he's been saying dumb stuff again.
This guy was so smart that he
Okay.
went into the strip club just by chance to do research on the real estate
Research and
market,
development on
right?
the real estate market.
And
Yeah.
he got a little tip from the stripper,
Yeah.
which,
I got
I
3
mean,
houses. No money down.
let's be honest. I mean, we do hear about real estate from everyone that we talk to, don't we?
100%. Yep.
Now, that's generally, well, I think that's generally whether they know we do this or not, or
Yeah.
what we do for a living or not. They just, everybody's talking about real estate or
Didn't
construction
I
or
can't remember what episode it was in, but I remember an episode. This has got to be over a year, maybe 2 years now, where somebody came up to me and said they were giving me real estate advice. And he was in some sort of position where it's probably not the best place to get real estate advice from. And I
yeah,
came on the show that week and said, Darryl, the end is coming.
the end is near.
I'm getting advice from, it was like the
The
shoe shiner back in
washroom
the Great
attendant
Depression.
at the
There was
restaurant,
something
right?
the guy was telling me, and I was like, this is bad. This is bad. And I knew that something was going to change soon. But anyways, market's going down. We're going
Down.
to talk about this again ad
Feels like it's
nauseum
going up.
next week again. We appreciate everyone listening to the show, and we'll see you again real soon.
See ya later.